Stay on the beach, the place to be. All the tips and ways to make the first.
Roxana Stingu, and this is all you need to know about me. I really love search to the point where I also oversee our internal search engine because I just can't get enough. I've spent the last 10 years of my 15 years career in tech SEO specifically, and I'm an AI enthusiast. Not because I'm smart, but because I'm lazy and I heard AI can do my job. This is what we're going to talk about today: image search, how it works, AI in search, and then after you throw the balls at the 20-minute mark, I'll need 2 minutes for the last one, please. So let's get started. Image search only got to exist because Jennifer Lopez wore this outrageous Versace dress in the year 2000 something at some awards. And the internet just went mad. Everybody went online to find this dress. Sergey and Larry, the Google founders, understood that people wanted to see an image, not a website. So they created image search as a separate search facet in their search engine. But actually, images are absolutely everywhere. They're in your generic search in web, they're in discovery, they're in news, even in video you have images, right? Absolutely everywhere. To the point where if you look at the data, and this is for web search, you get 44% of web searches returning images on desktop and 64% on mobile in the US. And for Spain is actually even more than that. That was surprising. So then how does it work? And I like to look at it from a search engine's point of view. So we're going to cover these steps. And of course, in order to discover images, the best thing you can do is add them to your sitemaps. You already know that. You need to make sure your images are available in your HTML as part of an image tag and not as background or CSS, or they won't get discovered. And of course, if you're using responsive images or you're serving different image formats or you're using a combination of both, just make sure you always have an image tag pointing to the one image size and format you actually want indexed, because that's the one that's going to get picked up. Same thing goes for lazy loading. Don't just use a data SRC, because that's not enough. Not all search engines will find images in that have a clean SRC as well. Moving on to discovery, you know how crawling works. We're SEOs, come on. But when Googlebot, the crawler, gets to the HTML, finds an image, will actually send it to a different queue where a different bot will analyze that image specifically. Googlebot image, put some information back in the index alongside what Googlebot found initially on the page. You need to pay attention to this image bot crawler that it's way slower than the regular HTML crawler. So if you have a website heavy with images, give it a few more weeks before they can be actually processed, because it's going to take some time. And then same with traffic. You're not going to appear in image search as fast as you're going to appear in web search. If you're thinking, I need to change image URLs, I'm just going to use HTTP headers, put canonicals in there. Google still doesn't use canonicals for images, so don't do that. Do redirects if you can. And then if you don't want your images crawled for any reason, you have a secret folder or something, just block it in robots.txt like you would anything. Just make sure you use the Googlebot image user agent. Right, indexing. All these image formats can easily be indexed by Google, and I'm assuming all other search engines as well. But alongside, there's information that will get indexed with their images. Of course, you have the alternative text, the alt text, we all know about that, but then the text around the images that's been found on the page, the image captions, image file names, and even metadata that comes with the image, as well as if you have links pointing to images, the anchor text of those links will also get added to the index. You don't want images in the index for any reason, but you don't want to block your full page with the image. You can only block the images, so they won't show in image search, but your page can still rank in web search using meta robots on the page. Right, that brings us to ranking, our favorite thing to do. This is the only thing you need to remember about images all the time, that you can rank a page without an image, but you can never rank an image without a page, which means you need to consider the page in your holistic SEO if you want your images to rank as well. This is pretty much the simplest way of explaining how image search ranking works, which is a bit different than your regular web search ranking. This is coming out of various patents that Google has shared across the years. And what's different is that Google will put images in collections. This doesn't happen in web. So it will find similarity between images, and based on those similarities, it will group these images in a collection. Your search term comes in, and then Google will pick which collection is the most relevant for that. You get that collection then gets ranked, and then you see the results. In order for those images in that collection to get ranked, there's different factors that fit in. These are only a few, so of course relevancy matters, location. You're in the US, you might get other images than I'm getting here in Spain. There's also a thing that you get two images one after the other because they have a high probability that people seeing one image want to click on the other image as well. So that's a factor when it comes to ranking for images. And of course you have things like size and quality. And speaking of size and quality, we refer to size in different ways. We know file size, which we do for speed, right? But also image resolution matters a lot. Clara told us yesterday in Discovery you want 1200 pixels, right? But also aspect ratio. If you want your images to appear in Discovery, you want wide images because that's what Google uses there. So also think about that when you put your images on your website. And you can control image previews, and this is for Discovery. Instead of having that small thumbnail that you can barely see without me pointing, you can get the big ones if you use this attribute in robots on the page. Right, old question. Everybody says Google uses EXIF in images. I'm here to tell you otherwise. 2014, Matt Cutts said we reserve the right, which to me means we have this data, but we haven't decided what to do with it. 2017, John Mueller confirmed that nothing has changed. But if you read documentation nowadays, there's no mention in Google's documentation about EXIF whatsoever. They actually mention IPTC. That's a different type of metadata for images, and this one is more about image rights. So you can get information like creator credit line or copyright notice right under your image when you preview it in image search. So that's what Google pulls from your metadata embedded in your image. And that's not all. You can even get this lovely rich snippet with that badge over there where you can point to what license applies to that image, especially if you're the creator of the image. But also you can point to a website where people can buy that license for your image so then they can use it in different ways. And all of this you can get through IPTC embedded on your image, but you can also use schema.org, so you can put structured data on your pages to show the same things. And if Google finds both structured data and IPTC, it will prioritize structured data, but there might be use cases when you want one over the other. So just see which one is your use case. Now, when it comes to search ranking, we know in web it's top to bottom, that's how we count it. When it comes to images, it's left to right because of how images are displayed. That shouldn't be new information. We know click-through rate is higher at the top for web search, but what happens in image search? And actually, it's hard to know because we don't get this type of granular information in Search Console, and we don't really get a lot of image search information elsewhere. So then I dug up a study that somebody did at a university somewhere in Beijing, and they did an eye tracking study. They looked at where do people's attention go when they're presented with a set of image results. And then this is their attention, this is their clicks. You can see there's direct correlation between the two. And what they found out was that people tend to look at the middle image of the top row first. And then their eyesight goes down one row in the middle, and then they go up left and up right. So if you're in image search and you have 5 images per row based on whatever the screen size is, you actually want to rank 3rd and 8th. You don't want to rank 1st and 2nd. If you're in Search Console, because I mentioned it, and you see a lot of impressions for one of your search terms in web search, but no clicks, it might be because you're actually ranking with an image feature in web search. So you might have a knowledge panel, an image carousel, you might be in an image pack, or just have a thumbnail. The problem is you get the impression of where the image shows up. So like an image carousel could be ranking first for you and for your image, so you get a lot of impressions. you get no clicks because clicking on that image takes people to image search instead. And I'll continue complaining about Search Console. I don't know if Daniel is still here. I hope not, because I like him. But you don't get to know if you have image packs or any other types of image features in web search because Search Console just doesn't give you that information. I do have a workaround though. I just blend my web search and image search data and I see which search terms appear in both. And then I write a case when query and I try to figure out if these might be in image packs. So if I have the search term in both searches, but it ranks first in web search with a lot of impressions and no clicks, I can assume it's an image pack or a knowledge panel showing an image. No, went too far, going back. So a lot of stuff, do you need to know all of this? Why should you consider images? And I said at the beginning, images should be part of your holistic SEO, shouldn't be just an optimization you do after the fact. This is an example from Foot Locker. They optimized their website for speed and their category pages were really, really fast, but they were not showing images as part of web search. They were ranking, no images. When's the last time you bought a pair of trainers without seeing it first? So clearly they need images to attract clicks from search. Brodie Clark, who's an awesome Australian SEO, he does all of these investigations and writes about stuff, and he wrote about Foot Locker's case study and why their e-commerce wasn't that great. So he identified the problem and he said their images were added really, really small because they wanted the pages to load faster, but they were so small they weren't quality enough for Google to pick them up. So Foot Locker, being smart, they increased the size of their image, not by too much, so even 200 pixels, that's still fast for their page, but their click-through rate from web, now showing images, increased dramatically. So don't forget your images as you do other optimizations. Right, let's talk a little bit about AI in search. We all know AI is used for ranking, right? We've heard about RankBrain and neural matching and BERT and now MUM, so we know Google uses AI. But does it use AI when it comes to images and identifying what's inside images? That's the question. This is another chart coming from one of those old patents. And I'm specifically looking to talk about the image features module. Remember how I said before that, images will get put together in a collection based on feature similarity. This is the module that identifies those features. And features could be brightness, color, edges of objects, intensity, shape, texture, and about 50 more that I can't list here. And then images that have similarity between them are added to that collection and then later on they're ranked. So in order to get these features, Google used to use something called a wavelet technique. It's like the grandpa of AI, right? Something that doesn't take a lot of processing power, but the results are really not that intense either. Now, this was a long time ago. They haven't really published any newer patents to explain what they used. But if you do want to see the old patents, or if you want to see any type of search patents, I recommend you check out the websites of Bill Slosky and J.C. Chouinard, because they take all that patent talk and translate it into stuff that's actually readable. Right. There's something in modern AI called an image embedding or vectorization, where you can pretty much create numerical representations of images and capture their semantic meaning as well as their visual features. And now the difference between what Google used to use and maybe are still using, with Wavelet, imagine you have a puzzle where you pick out a piece, you don't have a picture of the complete puzzle, so you don't know what context is around this piece. So you can only identify some features, right? You can see eyes, a nose, a mouth, you kind of know it's a face. With image embeddings, it's as if you have the piece in the completed puzzle, so you get the whole context around it. So you understand it's a person, but you also understand it's somebody's face on a $1 bill, and you have the knowledge to know that's George Washington in this case. So that's the difference between grandpa AI and very young AI, right? Now, we know Google can do the magic AI, the nice one that gets a lot of context, because they sell this as computer vision in their cloud services. You run an image in there, it can even tell you She's wearing lipstick. That's like the most natural shade, but AI can identify it's lipstick and it's not natural, right? So it's really good. Yet, if you search for pizza in France, you get that lady there. How does that happen, right? I thought Google was smart. This is why it happens, because somebody was on purpose trying to fool Google into thinking this woman's pizza. Everything around is a recipe for pizza, yeah? Alt text, a file name, everything, except for the image itself. And you might not say, well, I don't think you can see it, that's 2011, so it's quite old, right? Maybe Google wasn't that smart back then. But these results I showed you, and again, you probably can see it because it's quite small, they're from a month ago, not 2011. So Google is still doing this. And the question is why? And here's what I think might be happening, because there's no confirmation anywhere, but this is my personal opinion. I think Google uses all these different types of AI, even the old ones, and it needs to balance things out. So for instance, if it doesn't need to know too much about an image, it will use some of the older algorithms that are less expensive. If it needs to find out something very specific, it will use the more expensive, newer algorithms that give more information, right? So I think it just balances stuff out. Their website in 2011 is already trusted. They've never had images that didn't match text, so Google doesn't feel the need to use expensive AI. They're stuck with this. But if you have a new website that Google has no trust signals about, knows nothing about, you might be getting the new AI that actually checks your images match your content. So that's your takeaway. Careful, if your site is new, Google might realize you're up to something. But if your site is old and trusted, you might want to try some weird shit. Up to you. Right. Oh, I'm making good time here. Let's talk about generative AI. You've all heard about it. You've seen images created by DALL-E, Midjourney, and things like Stability AI. Here we go. Stability AI, right? So we know you can just textually describe something and then you get this image created that looks so real. Sometimes it even looks like it's a photograph. It's insane. And it's not just images. You have text-to-text generation, text-to-image, text-to-video, image-to-video, and God knows what. I'm not even talking about audio. All these companies doing this all the time and just getting better and better at it. So every year we have this thing where somebody says, don't use stock photography for SEO, it doesn't work. And now, because so much generative AI, people just say, don't use AI-generated images for your SEO because it doesn't work. So then I talk about it quite a bit. John Mueller talked about it quite a bit. And if you're worried about stock photography or AI-generated imagery in your SEO, you should just worry about, is this image relevant to my content? And if it is, it doesn't matter if it's coming from your phone, a professional camera, if it's AI generated, or if you bought it off a stock website. It doesn't matter. If it's relevant, it will rank. Now, this is what happens when these models take publicly available images that are watermarked, like this one here from my competitor that I love dearly, and then they generate new images. They almost regenerated the watermark because that existed on all the images they used in training, right? So this is a problem. And then you might be asking, well, who owns copyright on this stuff when things like this happen? And there isn't an easy answer. Different countries will have different rules. Even different states in the US will have different rules. So there's a battle on copyright. But there is something you can take back. And this is my first trend that I'm sharing with you around images. You get these ethical foundational models that have built their model on fully licensed images. So anything you generate, you own the license to, and you'll never get in a legal battle over it. So if you want to use AI imagery on your website, find an ethical foundation model and make sure you don't have legal issues. Now, you've probably seen this, predictions in SEO every year, and some of us share our predictions. Now we're doing it for AI as well. And I put that prediction in that pretty much says that Google will use their generative AI model for images. They will put it in Google search. And actually, not even a month after I said that, they put it as a test in the US to see if people want to use it. So, no, I don't know the lottery numbers. But that's the trend. Generative AI is going to be everywhere. It's in search. We know it by text, but it might be for images as well. And these images that I used as a background for my slides, I've created them in Google Slides directly using their AI. You've seen images like this? Yeah? These lawyers, the firm doesn't exist. These people don't exist. There's a website that generates people that don't exist. I swear this looks real, right? So that's the other trend, provenance. How do you prove images are AI generated or not when they look so real? And the answer is you really can't. Oh, I'm getting ready for this. Give it to me. Right. I only have 1 more minute. So, all of these different people who generate images are also creating a way for you to know it's been generated with their model, right? But that's a problem. If you're Clara, for instance, who works for a newspaper and you have 100 images you want to check if they're real because it's the news, you have to run each image by 20, 30, 40 different models to identify if they're actually real or not. Who has that time when the news moves so fast, right? So then this is my last trend. Keep an eye on coalitions like this one that are trying to find one single way of identifying any model that's been used and checking images quickly for you so you know, is it the truth or is it AI generated? So quickly summing it up, images are everywhere. Take advantage of that and optimize your images in a way where they can show in different search facets, right? Not just in image search. I know tools are limited when it comes to images, but you can get creative and use the tools you have in new ways to still get some data around images. There are a lot of opportunities because AI is expensive, so search engines will not want to use it all the time, which means that the text surrounding your images is still very important, even if search engines can read the image itself. And then as a threat, generative AI can be tricky depending on your niche and what you work on, but if you have your own art that you're creating, put the copyright on it by using structured data that says you're the author of it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Stay on the beach, the place to be.